Now, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. As a high performer, how well do you sleep?
Uh, I'm super religious about sleep, especially in the last, I would say, about 3 years. You mentioned Joe Rogan before. He had a guest on his podcast, and I don't remember his name offhand. I think his last name was Walker, but I could be mistaken. He's a sleep expert, and he did an episode on basically, he just talked about sleep and how important it was. And of course, to say sleep is important is like people are just going to roll their eyes. Yeah, we know sleep is important, but it's kind of one of those things like everyone rolls their eyes and goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they continue with very poor sleeping habits. Um, so there are a lot of studies that show that if you're getting less than seven, that's 7 to 8, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Seven is kind of the minimum. If you're getting less than that, it's pretty much a straight line for onset of dementia as you get older. Like they're pretty much it's like you have a lack of sleep over the you only sleep 5 hours a night. People are like, oh, I only need 5 hours a night. It's pretty much a straight line to things like dementia and all sorts of age related decline. And one of the statistics he had there was that for men, I believe it's like above over the age of maybe it's not even over a certain age, but for every hour of sleep you get under that 7 hours, you wake up the next day with about 10 years less of testosterone level than what your age should be. So if you sleep the full 7 hours, you should have, let's say your full testosterone available to you. If you slept 6 hours, if you're 40, you now have the testosterone that they have a 50-year-old. If
Mhm.
you slept 5 hours, you have the testosterone of a 60-year-old. So
Wow.
it's 10 years for every hour less than seven that you sleep. So you can imagine those nights when you only got 4 hours of sleep for whatever, why you just felt so grimy the next day. And testosterone is necessary not just for libido and things, but for healing yourself, for vitality, for energy, for the ability to do the things you want to do. And I heard that podcast and it just scared the bejesus out of me because I'm like, I'm getting older. I'm in my 40s and I'm not asking anything less of my body these days. I still train regularly every week. I have to teach students. And if I teach a student in the morning and that student wants me to be physical with them and move them around and actually, press them a little bit, well, that student expects it just as much as the student my last student later that night who does a private lesson with me. So I cannot be like, oh, I've been teaching all day, so I'm going to go easy with you. Every student who comes to me deserves to have the same experience and deserves to have me at 100%. And you look into all these different things you can do, and it turns out the biggest performance enhancing drug you can take is to get a good night's sleep. And it sounds super trite and it sounds like, yeah, 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 like kind of brush your teeth, kids. And it sounds like these things that, they're very folksy and people don't pay attention to them. But for me, it's 7 hours a night, non-negotiable. And I have like my whole setup. I turn the screen off, an hour before I go to bed. I should actually do it earlier than that. But I'm like, okay, 1 hour before I go to bed, I'm not looking at a screen. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm going to, just read a book or do something else. And 7 hours, non-negotiable. And I'm like, the temperature of the room's got to be right. So it's cool. So I fall asleep. And I tell you, that has made all the difference in the world. People ask me why I have so much energy, and they think I'm taking special vitamins or something like that. It's like I just sleep 7 hours a night, and that's made all the difference in the world.